if you're standing at the three-point line, especially if you're unguarded, you put it up. It's on you as to whether or not that ball falls through the rim. It's not like that in baseball. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Diamondbacks 6, Pirates 5. What was that yesterday at PNC Park? If it wasn't the worst loss of the summer, then it certainly had to have felt like it to the 30,000 plus on hand. And it definitely felt like it inside that clubhouse. Tough setting in there. And you can get why. It's not just losing 2 of 3 to Arizona. It's not just losing ground in the wild card race. It was the how. It was falling just short. It was blowing leads. And in this case, it was blowing a 4-run lead with Paul Skeens on the mound. Big crowd, big vibe, the whole thing. Poof, there it went. And there it went specifically off the bat of Jock Peterson out to the bleachers. 3-run home run off Colin Holderman in the 7th inning that gave Arizona a 5-4 lead, one that the Diamondbacks would not give up. And when you twin that with Aroldis Chapman giving up a home run in the Friday loss, you double that sickly feel to the entire series. Blowing any lead in baseball is unsettling. Blowing big leads, blowing late leads it shakes you to your foundation as a team. Except when it doesn't, and except when it shouldn't. And this is the part that you're not going to want to hear today. At least some of you. Because baseball, unlike other sports, is not and never will be best gauged and measured by outcomes. Sure, over the course of a longer period, over the course of a full career, if you're good at executing certain things as a hitter or a pitcher, the numbers will follow. The outcomes will follow. But for the most part, as every major leaguer at every position will tell you, the outcomes are out of their control. There's nothing they can do about it. They can try to hit a pitch as hard as they can. They can try to hit that pitch additionally high enough, lofted enough, that it gets over the infielders' heads. They can try to ride with a pitch to make sure that both of those things happen, meaning depending on its placement. And that's it. That is it. They can't control whether the infielder makes some diving stab on it. They can't control whether the outfielder can track it down. They can't control ballpark dimensions. And believe it or not, in this era that does not have Tony Gwynn, Pete Rose, Rod Carew style hitting, they don't control really anything about it. They're swinging violently and trying to make hard contact. That is modern baseball. Now, pitching, of course, comes with more control. The ball is in your hands. You can do what you want with it, or at least try to, and you can have some sort of expected or hoped for outcomes. That's why you have defensive shifts and so forth. But what you can't control is when you throw, if you're Holderman, a 99.8 mile an hour sinker that goes exactly to the millimeter where Yasmani Grandal put his glove on the outer corner on a 2-strike count with 2 aboard. It's one of the hardest pitches you've thrown all season. You put it exactly where you wanted to. You feel so good about that thing after it comes out of your hand. And guess what? Once it comes out of your hand, it's over. For you, it's over. There's nothing else you can do. You can't wish for it to do something. Well, I guess you can wish, but you can't be like one of those curling people who's screaming at the other two with the brooms to change the direction or to affect it in some other way. You can't do any of that. It's all up to the hitter now. And Peterson took this pitch and drove it the other way 413 feet for a home run to the deepest part of PNC Park. It was a literally remarkable piece of hitting in the same way that it was when Josh Bell went the other way with the Chapman fastball, that one at 103 miles an hour over the Clemente wall. There isn't anything Chapman would have done differently. There isn't anything Chapman will do differently the next time he goes to make that pitch. Why? He executed the pitch. All he could do. If he'd missed, if he'd found too much white over the plate, if he'd lifted it up a little bit, that's on him, but not that pitch. Same goes for Holderman. Another thing that's out of your control as a pitcher that has no real comparison in other professional sports is that the umpire can really stick it to you. And I don't mean because he doesn't like you or doesn't like your team. I mean, the umpire can just not be good. And that was the case yesterday with Jonathan Parra. A casual video review of the 2 walks that Holderman had issued leading up to Peterson's at-bat shows that Parra missed not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 total calls in those 2 batters. Should have been strikeouts. Weren't. Nothing Holderman could do about that. Peterson hit a ball in a specific placement, and this is one of the beautiful things about advanced analytics and data, in a specific location that no left-handed batter in the major leagues in 2024 had hit for a home run if it had arrived at that spot at 100 miles an hour or faster. This one was 99.8. Holderman's had some lousy results of late, some lousy outcomes, and at times he has not made his best pitches. Believe it or not, that's not what this episode is about. Rather, it's about the way we judge pitching. One of my favorite things that I've learned from the great Bob Walk over the years from being around him is that he'll laugh, and I mean out loud, when somebody says that a pitcher only made 1 or 2 mistakes, and they'll be referring to like a double and a home run. And he'll say, no, man, you make mistakes the whole game. It's just how many do you get away with? Similarly, you will make great pitches that you'll get punished for. I had some questions for Holderman after this game.
Shelty seemed to be pretty ticked off about something that happened that inning. Can you walk us through that?
There's a couple close calls that didn't go our way. I haven't looked at them yet, so I'm not going to speak on it further.
How do you feel about the way the inning went for you?
It started off a little rough, but we made some pitches, and we're 1 pitch away, which then I executed down the way 100 miles an hour. Normally that works, but he made a better swing, put it backside, deepest part of the yard, tipped cap.
Is that what your reaction was there? Like, it looked like the pitch was going right to Yaz's glove.
Yeah.
It was.
It seems like it's been a lot of that lately, and that's kind of the worst spot we're in. I've been executing pitches, and the outcome hasn't been what I liked. But we're going to take it one day at a time, and we're going to get out of this. Had a good 2 months to start the season, and it's a rough patch here, and we're going to have another great 2 months to finish it. So I'm not worrying too much.
That's the right attitude. I know there's a very, very negative feel about him right now. I also know that for the better part of the first half of the season, he was one of the better relievers in baseball. I also know, by the way, that before these last 4 games in which he's been hit for at least a run, each time out, he was on a pretty nice little bounce back roll right there. 3 weeks of being completely clean. You don't judge players of this caliber based on outcomes. You judge them based on their actual pitching. You most certainly do not discard them. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from Ken, who says, DK, we left runs out there to die all through that game, and so many others this season. Setting aside the bunt by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Is there anyone on this team who can move a freaking runner? You know, Ken, I'm with you on the general thought that the Pirates are really poor at moving runners. I'm not going to get on Kiner Falefa for that, at least not in the context of the Pirates since he's been here for all of 2 days. But this isn't a team that does that well. And I also feel that it's worth pointing out that nobody does. Nobody does. Not anymore. The art, if you want to call it that, of small ball or bunting or hitting to the right side or even sac flies is pretty much over for a lot of the same reasons that I discussed in the opening segment today, which is that hitters are going for fences or bust. That's just the way the math points them. That's just the way they go. So when you ask somebody to do something crafty with the bat, you're going to get something like what you saw from Kiner Falefa. But I've also got to say this. That's why you don't ask them to do it. That's why you stop living in some other wishful era as a manager. Derek Shelton had no good reason to seek out that bunt. And believe you me, I'm telling you the same thing. If that bunt had been the most gorgeous die-in-the-grass thing you've ever seen, even if he'd beaten it out for a bunt single, because it's a bad idea. 1, no one can do it well anymore. 2, the Diamondbacks have a closer on the mound who was trying for his first save ever. It was his second time at closing. Why? Diamondbacks don't have a lot of weaknesses, but they've been terrible at that specific role. They had just made a change at closer. This was this guy's first test, and the very first thing he deals with is an Andrew McCutchen walk and a Yasmani Grandal single. Boom, boom, just like that. Now, I don't want to paint it like he's out there wetting himself, but he's in trouble. And you send your next hitter up there, a guy who doubled and tripled earlier in the same game, and you hand that nervous new closer an out. You just gift it to him. You say, hey, kid, we're with you, man. Relax. You got this. Third reason you don't try the bunt there is because even if Kiner Falefa succeeds and you move Kutchen, what's now a pinch runner, up to second and third, Brian Reynolds is on deck. You're taking the bat out of his hands because Torey Lovullo, Arizona's manager, is absolutely unequivocally going to walk Reynolds. Not just because he's your best player, but also because it puts a double play in order. You know, a double play that would end the game. Because your next hitter after that is O'Neal Cruz. You would bring in A.J. Puck for a left-left matchup. You'd get Cruz out. Game's over. Game's over. And that wasn't even close to the only thing, by the way, that Shelton botched in this game. As much as I believe, and more important, the people in the clubhouse believe, that Holderman made a terrific pitch to Peterson, I could still, out of the same side of my mouth, advocate that a hitter like Peterson, who has a .931 OPS that's number 1 on the best offensive team in the majors, he needed to see a lefty there. That's just managing 101. Peterson had struck out 14 times in his previous 22 appearances against lefties, and you left your lefties, both Aroldis Chapman and Jalen Beeks were warming up, out in the pen. Why? Why? That was where the game was going to be won or lost, right there. Anyway, I could go on about this game all day, and nobody would want me to. So let's just end it there. The main point that I'm making today overall, and I really hope that this comes across, is not some sort of impassioned defense of Holderman or whatever. It's that things are not always what they appear in this sport. A couple months ago, when Andrew McCutchen was really struggling, he had a game in Milwaukee where he had just screamed the ball all over. And the Brewers were out there sliding and diving and robbing him left and right. And he said to me after that game, he goes, I have never in my career been through anything like this. This is nuts. All I told him was, Kutch, you understand, if you keep doing that, meaning exactly that. Don't change a thing. You're going to be just fine. And he goes, oh, I know. Just wait. And sure enough, you saw what followed. Kutch was the Pirates' best hitter for the whole month that followed. Didn't do anything different. It's not that he stunk before, that he was super awesome afterward. He was the same guy. He just got the outcomes to fall his way, the part that you can't control. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. Going to do another one tomorrow.